Hello, and welcome to a series of videos for this term that relate to colour and how we perceive colour, how we can use colour, and it being one of the most important aspects or one of the most interesting aspects in what we do as painters, printmakers, drawers, etc., etc. Colour is probably one of those elements, though, that sometimes can be the most scary, to be how to use it, what goes with what. When we go to the art shops or we look online and we're confronted by these shelves of all these different tubes of different paints and different colours, and what do you choose? Where do you start with? Also, we're often confronted by shelves and shelves of different books and different approaches to how to use colour that are often filled with beautiful diagrams, with beautifully coloured charts and things like that that can sometimes be quite mysterious even after you've read all the appropriate material that goes with those colours. So the main purpose of this series of classes and videos is to start to demystify some of all of those systems and those elements of colour that we are confronted with, and to help you start to choose and develop a palette of colours that you're comfortable working with and express what you want to express with using colour. Like all of my classes, I don't wish to force upon you a set range of colours. I'll have suggestions that you can use, but I don't want to give you a palette that is the be-all and end-all of colours to use. I think it's far more liberating and far more important for you to have an understanding of colour so that you're able then to choose which colours best work for you and best reflect you, and then use those in your work. So the first thing I want you to do, and this doesn't matter whether you're using oils or acrylics or watercolours, even coloured pencils, pastels, doesn't matter what you use here to do this exercise. And you might be, and this could be something you could do if you use different types of mediums too. You could be doing it with each of your different choice, either oil, acrylic, etc. Is that I want you to lay them all out there in front of you like this. So these are just some of my watercolours that I have. And I want you to group them together. So group colours together that you think are similar. So for instance, there's one group of colours here that I could make by putting these ones together. And this is just going off the labels. I want you to just look at the labels and see groups like this. We're going to have another group that are down here. And you might put, and you might say, there's another group there. And we've got another classic group. This one we're not quite, we'll leave that one there for the moment. That one's a bit odd. Yes, that one can go in there. That one should be over there. Oh, here's another one that I'm not quite sure. And there's a sort of another group happening there, and that one probably can go over there, and
Oh, that one doesn't really belong to any group. And that sort of looks as though it might belong out there. So you might come up with some groupings like this. Now, what you're looking across here is that we've got some very distinct groups start to appear, like this group here and this group here, etc., etc. And the first thing I want you to think about is one of the terms that we relate when we're talking about colour, and that's the term hue, as in H-U-E. So, not the person, the term hue, which relates and is the names of colours that we use. Now, when we're confronted with the English language, and even probably other languages, there is a great, vast amount of colours that have names. Things like azure and turquoise, purple, brown, the list goes on and on and on. And these are often a lot of the names that you do see on paint labels and things like that. We need to simplify that, and we need to start to think about colours in far more simpler terms. And I basically use, and if we looked across this range, some of those names are there. So for instance, one of our basic names that I would talk about a colour is that group there, which would be the yellow group. And then here's another group here, the group of reds. So we want to be using a simple, and there's 6 colour or hue names that we would be using. So we've said yellow, red, and blue are the basic first 3. And the other group are here, which we would talk about there being green, orange, and violet. So there's our sort of our basic 6. Now, when we say with that basic 6, we suddenly find in how we've grouped out these paints is that there's some other groups of colours here that are off by themselves. And that, we, in our initial splitting them up, we wouldn't necessarily think about them here. And this is probably one of the classic groups here, which is including a lot of colours like burnt sienna, Venetian red, Indian red, what else have I got there? Burnt, umber, etc., etc. Now, those sort of colours were commonly, and probably what you may have referred to them as being browns. But we don't use, and I don't want you to use the word brown. These colours, we talk about them as being reds. So I would bring them around and put them into this family over here. The other quite large group of colours is this group here, which are labels that have a very green tinge to them. Now, that group I'll come back to in a moment, but it's often is one of the scariest colours in terms of mixing, and in terms of that you'll find that there are a lot of greens usually in ranges of colours in terms of artists' materials. And this range here is small as opposed to what you're able to get. Another interesting group, again, here we've got an orange by itself, and this one here, which is a violet. Now, again, here's another word. We're ridding a word from our language, or when we're talking now about colour, is purple. I would not talk about this family here as purple. We talk about it as violet. So we've got yellow, red, blue, orange, violet, green as being our main families. Here we've got some blacks, some whites, and some greys, but we'll come back to those in another class on another day.